Hello, hello, hello. It's John Ray's spiritual slash metaphysical meme musings, daily inspiration for awakening entrepreneurs and generally badass people on a spiritual quest. Today is November 22nd, November 22nd, 2020. If you want to see these memes before they get turned into a video, you can follow me on Instagram at John Ray. I appreciate you being here. Let's get this thing started. Okay, I wrote a little paragraph here that I wanted to talk about. Today I posted on Instagram, do a body scan and sit with the energies and sensations that come up, but be aware of what is easier to feel in this moment. Is it pain or discomfort, or is it pleasure? Because here's what happens when we sit with our discomfort, it should begin to start to diminish in size. So there's an energy or sensation to our emotion, to our pain, to our discomfort that when we do a body scan is going to show up somewhere in our body. And if we will sit with the energy of that discomfort, the manifestation that we're looking for is that to start to dissolve and diminish in size. But if it stays the same or it starts to actually grow in intensity, there could be an opportunity to reach for a layer of pleasure that lives just outside of that pain. Um, I had an interesting experience in a session with my emotional processing coach this week, and basically what was happening was I had some discomfort in my chest, and for several sessions we were just sitting with that discomfort in the chest, and it really wasn't moving at all, and so what he had me do was reach for a layer of pleasure outside of it. It was kind of this very subtle flavor of energy that said it's okay if this is here, and that it being okay for the discomfort to be there was kind of locking it into place. And an interesting thing happened. It was actually uncomfortable for me to hold the more pleasurable flavor of energy that was present. And so I had to stretch the muscles of my energy to get into that pleasure space. And I think that, now reflecting back, there's been many times where it was easier to experience the discomfort in my body than it was to experience the pain. And so I just stayed with the discomfort. And eventually, the discomfort will usually go away if you're sitting with it. But sometimes stretching those muscles and looking for a flavor of energy that represents a higher frequency can build out the space to unlock that discomfort or that pain in a way where it dissipates a little bit more. And so the experience that I had was I just kind of reached for this like zenned out, oh, it's all cool, dude. And I tried to feel the outer edges of my fingers, of my skin, like push my energy to the edge of my body, and then just kind of zenned out in that bubble. And I could still feel the discomfort in my chest, but I was also having this experience of this pleasure sensation expanding. And it expanded so much where I felt like my energy was moving out of my body and into this more cosmic expanded state, and then all of that energy collapsed back in on itself, and the discomfort got super intense, and then it started to dissolve. And what I had done is I had felt through the layer of pleasure that was saying it's okay for the pain to be there. And that layer of it's okay, I'm just going to take it as it comes, that was kind of holding that discomfort in place. And so as you're sitting with yourself, recognize, is it easy for you to experience discomfort, and is it easy for you to experience pleasure? Because we should be energetically in mastery, which means that we should be able to experience any emotional state. We should be able to, with ease, put ourselves in any emotional state that is present. And so if we're in a place of pain, and it feels like that pain isn't dissipating after sitting with it for 15, 30 minutes, then there could be an opportunity to stretch a little bit and feel for a subtle pleasure flavor of energy that is holding that in place. So if you have questions about this, feel free to comment. I'd love to unpack a little bit further what emotional processing is and how this works. But at its most simple terms, it is sitting with yourself, doing a body scan, and allowing any of the energetic sensations in your body to just be there, and lend curiosity to that. If there's an energy moving through your leg, you notice that and you're just curious about that. If there's some energy moving through your chest, you notice that and you're curious about that. And you don't label it as anxiety or as being a negative thing. You can give it a name. You could call it frustration, you could call it anger, but the key is to not associate your beingness with that energy, because your beingness is a spiritual tube that energy passes through. You, as the spiritual being, are the container for the energy, not the energy itself. And so, if we can experience our emotions as energy passing through us rather than our beingness, then we can dissipate any energy that does not serve us and transmute it back into potential that we can direct. Are you looking for a like-minded community of conscious entrepreneurs? I was, and I decided that I would create one because I'm really interested in connecting with people who are on this awakening journey, and who want to create time, location, and financial freedom. And I have had the good fortune of working with so many coaches and mentors and business owners to help them succeed and for them to help me succeed. And I've learned so much, and this group is about me giving back and sharing what I've learned at a very affordable fee that's going to turn you an ROI and start to accelerate your business. And if you don't have a business and are still working a job, then it's going to help you figure out what your business could be, what your service could be. So if you have a business and you're trying to make it profitable, this is a good group for you. If you're looking how to take practical sales and marketing techniques and accelerate your results using metaphysical practices, this would be a good group for you. If you want to create spiritual leverage in your life to achieve time, location, and financial freedom, then please head on over to mindbodysale.com, fill out the form there. I would love to have you apply to be in this group. And if it's a good fit, then we can start to up level everything that you're doing. It's going to require that you put in some work. It's going to require that you show up for yourself. But I'm going to give you the daily actions that are going to help you learn how to make more money consciously, find meaning, align with purpose, and contribute to your community in a bigger way. So if any of that resonates, head on over to mindbodysale.com. Support this channel. I'd love to have you over there. And if you feel like you're right on the cusp of breaking out and finding success, but you just haven't been able to figure out all the details that are going to help you bridge where you're at with where you want to be, then this community is for you. You're going to get access to a series of videos that I've created that will show you the practical daily steps you need to take and start finding consistent success in your business, even if you don't have a product or service there yet. We'll show you how to do that. Plus, you're going to get chat access to me and my consulting team, and you can request custom videos to help you figure out how to start making more money this week. Then we're going to throw gasoline on that fire by incorporating all kinds of metaphysical and spiritual practices to give you leverage and put a multiplier on your actions. This is the program for finding time, location, and financial freedom, plus flow with ease while connecting with a great group of like-minded entrepreneurs. Visit mindbodysale.com. I really do appreciate you. Let's get this thing in motion. Next up, from @spiritualhill. When the universe tries to send you down a new rabbit hole, but the previous one fucked you up, this guy's flipping off the Easter Bunny, and rabbit holes will do that to you, and a lot of these are uncomfortable. You know, I love going down rabbit holes, whether I believe with them or not. I'm so curious about these kind of subcultures that live on the internet that are intensely passionate and have such strong conviction for what they believe in. I went down a flat earth rabbit hole one time, and you know, it was a really interesting experience because I recognized that I wasn't smart enough to actually articulate why the earth was round, or what the shape of earth was. And as somebody who believes that reality is a consciousness simulation, there was a lot of interesting parallels in that world to my own belief system. And telling someone that you're exploring flat earth is so uncomfortable if you haven't worked through the fear of judgment. But once you've worked through that, and once you're willing to be wrong, you can really start to explore some super interesting things, and you end up in a place, well, I don't really know what is true, or that doesn't really matter, because I'm going to be able to thrive anyway. And uh you know I one of the interesting things that came out of researching flat earth is I found a group of scientists in a project called the electric universe theory. And I think that one of the reasons that a lot of these conspiratorial subcultures exist is because they have very legitimate questions that they're asking, and the mainstream public, or the mainstream science community, or the mainstream media, rather than giving them answers to those questions, shames them and gaslights them for asking valid questions. And so then the natural stance when you're asking a question and someone tells you that you're stupid for asking a question is to want to rebel against the person who's telling you you're stupid for asking the question. And so I think a lot of the questions that are being asked in the conspiratorial communities, or the flat Earth community, they're asking a lot of very valid questions, but because the mainstream community is telling them that it's not appropriate to ask those questions, they then end up drawing whatever conclusions are easiest for them to draw. And maybe their conclusions are right for them and are putting them on the path that they're on. For me, I recognize that there was a community in the electric universe theory that was answering a lot of the questions that flat earthers are asking, but providing more valid interpretations of the data, and a theory of the universe that very intelligently counters what we are told in much of mainstream science. And so in order to go down the flat earth rabbit hole, I had to be comfortable enough with myself to recognize that this might confuse me. This might rattle up my understanding of the world or reality, and I might feel stupid in this, because I recognize that maybe I don't know as much as I think I do about astrophysics and the nature of the world. But by humbling myself and being willing to feel through those feelings, I landed on some really interesting information, and I got to a place where I recognized, oh, none of it matters. You can thrive regardless, and you can really run whatever story you want about reality. And that story, whether quote unquote real in physical 3D reality, does act as an energy satellite dish that draws you to experiences, and those experiences allow you to be on a growth journey. And so I believe that anyone should believe whatever they want to believe, and that we should never shut down theory. If there's a bad idea out there, we should debate that idea, and come up with better theories, and answer the questions that are being asked in a more cohesive manner. And I feel like the electric universe theory does a very good job of addressing some of the questions that flat earthers have, but are potentially drawing false conclusions to. And unless you're willing to go down some of those rabbit holes, you never get to find those nuggets at the end of the trail. And at the end of it, you're like, fuck you, rabbit hole. But then you really just want to keep finding more, because you recognize that down every one of those rabbit holes is this transformational experience. And information doesn't have to be real in a tangible 3D truth sense to give you a growth experience. And so we can't be afraid of being wrong. We just have to always be showing up and asking something grander than ourselves to show us what the truth is. And if we can be a little bit more flexible in our biases and our dissonance, then we can have a really beautiful experience of unfolding and discerning in all of the informations out there, rather than being someone who has to be told what is real. Next up from You Are Another Me. Spiritual people knowing all their theory. We've got SpongeBob being very elite and reading a book and being very proper about spiritual practices. And then spiritual people when it comes to practice. Confusion! There's a big difference between intellectually understanding a spiritual concept and experientially putting it into practice. And part of the awakening journey is that you're going to want to consume all of the information, and you're going to want to read all the metaphysical books, and then the tendency is to start projecting those ideas onto others. It's like the new Jesus conversion syndrome, where when you newly convert into a spiritual concept, or into a religion, you in the infancy of that new conviction that you have, you want to share it with everyone, and you want to project it onto everyone, and you want everyone else to validate that your thinking about it is correct, because you're still a little bit shaky in your own conviction about it. And so because of that, you project that everybody else needs to have the same belief system, and that this is the right one. And what happens is that as we actually start to put some of those spiritual practices into play, and have a true bodily experience of the truth of those practices, then we don't need other people to do it the same way, because we can become so confident in our own experience that it doesn't matter if anybody else joins in on that experience or not. And that's such a powerful place to be, is letting other people have their experience, letting them believe what they want, letting them explore reality on the path that is right for them, and recognizing that it's okay if people are exploring information that you don't feel is accurate, because even though something may not be accurate at a 3D physical level, and if that's the level that you're interpreting reality, somebody exploring something that's not true to you at that level might feel uncomfortable. But if you'll feel that discomfort and recognize that something untrue can still have an incredibly impactful way of turning and guiding someone towards appropriate solutions and benevolent behavior. And if we instead of pushing against people and demanding that they act and say and believe a certain thing, we can just let them have their own experience. Then people will not be in such resistance to us, because when we're resisting someone else, the natural metaphysics of that is that they're going to resist us. And when we let them have their experience, then it's easier for them to transition and transform into higher and higher concepts and versions of truth. Next up from Cryon Lee Carroll, he says consciousness is energy. That's from Cryon. And this idea that as we grow in awareness, we grow in our ability to work with the energy around us, is something that has always been interesting to me. And I remember Cryon saying that at some point in the future, we'll be able to measure consciousness the same way that we measure electricity. And that was interesting to me, because it really makes you have to question what consciousness actually is, and can we bring in more of ourselves, and when we're bringing in more of ourselves, is that actually us, or is that something else? And if all of reality is consciousness, can we meld with reality in a way that allows us to create and mold it like a blob of clay? And I believe that the answer is yes. And the more that we recognize ourselves as spiritual entities, as consciousness in motion, the more that we can expand and contract that energy in each moment to serve us. And so one of the things that is valuable about just sitting with ourselves every single day for at least 15 minutes is that we start to have a recognition of our energetic body and of the consciousness energy that's swirling around us, and in our ability to become a clear channel for that consciousness. And that's where ideas and creativity and a wider decision space come in. And so recognizing that consciousness is an energy that can expand and contract, and knowing that we can work with those energies is so powerful. Save to Invest says six figures is only $274 a day. So if you want to make a six-figure a year income, you only have to make $274 a day. And in order to do that, you could sell a $5 service 55 times a day. You could sell a $10 product 28 times a day. You could sell a $20 book 14 times a day. You could sell a $100 service three times a day. You could sell a $300 service just once. Six figures isn't as big as you think it is when you break it down into small goals. And once you hit six, you'll realize that seven isn't far either. And one of the things that has been really powerful for me is recognizing that when I'm providing a lot of value, I can charge more money because I'm giving people an ROI on their investment. If you can give someone a return on their investment, and a return on their investment does not have to be that they make money from what you gave them. Quality of life is a huge return on investment that's sometimes hard to quantify, but everybody wants a greater quality of life. And so whether you're a masseuse or an energy worker, or you're selling supplements, or you're a realtor, like all of these things can give someone a deep ROI on their investment in you. And if you can learn how to communicate that ROI, and make sure that you understand what's the financial ROI, what's the life quality ROI, what frustrations and problems do they have that you're going to be able to solve, you can start to develop products at each of these levels that will speak to people where they're at and move them further down your funnel. And then you can start to create packages where if somebody knows that they need if your clients tell you that they need a certain kind of support every single month, well, you can say, okay, I'm going to offer you that support at X amount of dollars every single month. And if you can get people to pay you $300 a month, then you know that you have predictable income. And that's a powerful place to be up leveling your business, because when you have predictive income, you can set a certain amount of that aside towards marketing and advertising, and at building digital assets that are going to grow the business. And then when you pair that with working through all of the emotional discomfort of having to create that stuff, when you can feel through any feelings about having to actually do the work that you know you need to do, and when you can expand your conscious energy around what you're building in your business, that's the sweet spot. That's a really powerful place to be growing quickly. And that's not just income, but time freedom, location freedom. Your ability to tap into your greatest desires and enact them in reality is available to you. And all you have to do is start by selling that $5 product 55 times a day. Start by selling that $5 product one time a day. And this can be an incredibly powerful concept when you break everything down into smaller pieces. From Rob Dial Jr., never quit. Today is hard. Tomorrow will be worse, but the day after tomorrow will be sunshine. That's a Jack Ma quote. And, you know, it is so easy to give up right before you're about to have your breakthrough. And you see that one of the easiest ways to see this is in physical workout. When you're exercising, sometimes for the first 30 days, you'll be doing a hard workout every single day and not really see a ton of results in those first 30 days. But if you keep it up for 90 days, you'll have a massive transformation, because growth is exponential in nature. It starts off seemingly very small and then starts to hockey stick upwards. And so you've got to stick with it. You have got to make sure that someone is holding you accountable to stick with the plan that you have for for 90 days, 120 days, 6 months, 12 months. The people who succeed are the ones who consistently do that. And whether it's social media content, or you making cold calls, or you prospecting, or you writing SEO articles, or creating content on your website, all of these things are only going to have an impact if you're consistent with them. And so it's going to be hard today. It's going to be hard tomorrow, but it becomes really fun once those things start to pay dividends in your life. From kill the ego to stop waiting, stop sitting around, stop procrastinating. This is your time. Make it happen, believe in yourself, and create some magic. Procrastination is one of these things that holds so many people back, and it actually is an energy that we can experience in our body. It's almost like the flavor of it is like a dread or a frustration or a confusion often, like I don't know what to do, and so because of that I'm doing nothing. And so if you can, for 15 minutes, set a timer and tune into that confusion, tune into that I'm not worthy, and just allow any sensations that are there to show up in your body, and then just notice those. Listen and view them with a level of curiosity that's not judging them as good or bad, but is just interested that there's some movement and energy around your body. And then watch how those start to slowly dissipate as you just lend your attention to them and start to diminish. And what happens is that if you will feel through those feelings of confusion, feel through that feeling of overwhelm. That's a big one. Oh, it just feels like too much. If you can feel through that feeling of overwhelm, the interesting thing that happens is your thoughts will start to be tuned into the small steps that you can take right now, the one action that you're vibrationally up to speed with right now. And so it is not about powering through and efforting your way through this. We want life to feel easy. And the way that you do that is, before you do anything, you feel through any discomfort about the action that you know you need to be taking. One thing that I do is every morning I will write down all of the things that I know I need to do that day. And then I will look at each one, and it becomes very clear where I have resistance to some of those things. So I just sit with that resistance and let it play itself out. And then my to-do list naturally will order itself in my mind, and I'll start to get really good ideas on how I can make myself more leverage, the things that I can delegate, the ideas that will make something easier. And that intuitive lining up of your day is available to all of us if we will first feel through the discomfort of procrastination. And that's a resistance towards what we know we need to do. And as that resistance begins to fade away in our nervous system and transmute, new ideas will come online that allow us to spring into action. And it's inspired action, not a disgruntled action. And that is a magical place to be. From Astral Dimension, it says create, not for the money, not for the fame, not for the recognition, but for the pure joy of creating something and sharing it. And it looks like that was from Right Hand Path originally. And we it's so fun to create for the sake of creating. I love creating these videos because it gives me the opportunity to speak affirmations into the world and anchor them into 3D reality so that I can live my greatest dreams and desires and set forth the energy that is lining me up with everything that I want. And so in your work, in your business, in your art, in your personal expression, if you can find the medium for expression that allows you to express because it feels good to express, you don't care if anybody hits that like button. You don't care if anybody shares the blog post. You don't care if it results in more income. The paradox is that by doing something because you're aligned with it and not because you need something from it, it actually becomes more energetically expansive. And then paradoxically, all of the things that you don't need it to be end up coming true. So when you're in authentic expression of yourself, you put out tractor beams for the type of people who are ready to hear and receive the value and the service that you have. And as an entrepreneur, that's such an interesting place to be because it means that your business starts to naturally grow in ways that are satisfactory and meaningful. From Power of Spirituality, it says Buddha was asked, "What did you gain from meditation?" He replied, "Nothing. However, let me tell you what I lost: anger, anxiety, depression, insecurity, fear of old age, and death." And this is the power in meditation. This is emotional processing. Emotional processing is not a visualization practice. Visualization can be so powerful, and speaking our dreams into reality, and filling in the detail of what we're going to create before we create it, and then executing it flawlessly. God, that's a satisfying feeling. But first, we have to feel through the resistance that we have towards the present moment. Because in order to truly be powerful in our visualizations, we can't have all of this resistance in the present moment. And so the style of meditation that I teach is become present, lend attention to your body and your nervous system. Notice what comes up there and lend curiosity. Notice any anger, anxiety, depression, insecurity, your fears, your challenges, your overwhelm, your confusion. Let all of that play out in as big of an energetic way as it needs to. And those things are not you. Those are not the spiritual being. The spiritual being is the tube. The emotions and the energy moves through the tube. So by just noticing that some of those feelings are stuck in your spiritual being tube, then by feeling those feelings and sitting with them and allowing them to move without judgment, it's Drano in the pipes that breaks up that energy and transmutes it back into creative potential that you can then use. So the benefit of sitting with yourself is to get to release all of the resistance that you have that's holding you back from utilizing your power. And then you can visualize and affirm what you want to create, and you will be able to enact that from an inspired place. Entrepreneur Think says, don't educate your children to be rich. Educate them to be happy so they know the value of things, not the price. You know, we get caught up in this idea that making money is going to make us happy. And that's such a cliche thing to talk about because, of course, intellectually, we all know that that's not true. And yet we're all striving to make more money because something doesn't feel right in our lives often. And I meet so many people who think that if they could just make a little bit more money and get out of that scarcity security mode, then they would be happy. And of course, there's some truth to that because money opens up opportunity. But if we can feel through the discomfort and resistance that we have to not having money first, and instead turn our focus to life quality, and the only way to quantify for yourself life quality is by being in the present moment. What does your present life feel like? And then feel through that discomfort. And one of the things that can really be valuable to us in our sales process is recognizing that a huge ROI on people's investment is, does their life get better? Does some aspect of their life get better? And if we can tap into what life quality means for them, then we can align our product with that enhancement in life quality, and it becomes easier to sell. And so learning to convey to ourselves the value of things, not just the price, allows us to anchor our pricing into a desire that someone has, or into a desire that we have, and money becomes less of a barrier and more of an exchange of energy for us to move into desired experiences. Astral Dimension says, trust in dreams, for in them is a hidden gate to eternity. Got this sexy snake lady walking into a pyramid with the Eye of Horus. And I put this here because I wanted to convey that dreams are full of information. And if you are someone who is doing the emotional processing work and looking for your edges and seeking out the spiritual information that is available to you, the first place that it might start to show up is your dreams. And so it can be interesting to start keeping a dream journal where if you wake up and you remember something, write down as many of those details as you can. And more importantly, what was the feeling of the dream? Because while there is intellectual information in that dream that you can interpret using a dream journal dictionary, or any number of Google searches for metaphysical meaning, um, you really the most impactful part of dreams for me is the feelings that they inspire, because basically they're putting me in the feeling state, and they're acting as a catalyst for the trapped energy in my nervous system that's ready to express, release, and transmute. So when I wake up from a dream, I immediately try to identify what was the feeling of the dream, and oftentimes it's still vivid in my nervous system. And then I will just sit and allow the energy of that dream to play itself out and burn itself out. And in that way, my dreams are emotionally processing me and triggering the energy work that's going to allow me to operate at my highest potential. Law of Light says life isn't about finding yourself, life is about creating yourself. And there's this idea in spiritual communities often that I hear where if I could just find my purpose, then I could align with my purpose, and everything would be okay. And so people spend years or their entire life trying to figure out what their purpose is. But the purpose is just to have an experience, and that experience can be whatever you want it to be. And so if you will feel through the discomfort and the confusion of not knowing your purpose, and move into a state of curiosity about life, and just go on the ride, take the roller coaster ride, and enjoy that, but recognize that in that softening of resistance, you have so much more creative power, and you can tap into your desires. And so many of the people that I hear, praying desperately to be shown their purpose are people who don't believe that their dreams are possible. And because of that, they're living in a place of stagnation. And that place of stagnation is a dead zone. It's so uncomfortable. And so, excuse me, one of the things that we can do is at the top of a sheet of paper, write, I want these things for my life, and then list out 25 things that you want. And if it helps you go to that place, let's say that somebody gave you $10 million, and now you can basically have almost anything that you want. And so what would you do with your life if money wasn't an issue? List out 25 things, and now look at each of those things, and see if you have a plan or a vision in place for that. Can you actually see yourself achieving that? Because if you don't, then the opportunity is to feel through the resistance of, I can't have that. I don't know how to have that. I don't know how to get there. Step one is you've got to feel through the resistance that says, you know what? I don't know how to achieve my dreams. And as you feel through that resistance, an interesting thing happens. You open up the satellite dish of your brain to start seeing information that moves you closer to your dreams. And we don't want to be consuming too much information until we're in a vibrational place, because we want to be highly leveraged. We want the information that's the exact information that we need in that moment. We don't want to be flooding our consciousness and our brain with information that we're not ready to act on. And so by listing out our dreams, that's going to immediately trigger all of the fears that we have that we won't be able to achieve those. And then we feel through those fears. And once we feel through those fears and resistance, then all of a sudden we start to have intuitive ideas on where the information lives in reality that will start to grease the wheels of the engine we're riding on, and then move us in the right direction. Law of Light. Yesterday I was clever, so I wanted to change the world. Today I am wise, so I'm changing myself. That's from Rumi. The hardest thing for me to grasp when I was having my awakening experience, and of course I'm still having it, But I wanted I wanted everyone to take on my belief system. I thought that I had found the truth, and that I arrogantly thought that my way was the best way, and I thought that I should go out and make the world formed to my belief system. And turning a cruise ship is a very difficult thing to do, and of course we can have an impact on the world, but when we need the world to change in order to hold our high vibes, in order to live our best life, that's an incredibly frustrating place to be. And when we recognize that by changing ourselves, just the energetics of that ripples out into the world, and has an inspirational effect on all other decision making. Because again, remember, I've shared before that consciousness is an energy. And so when we shift the energetics of our own consciousness system, our own personal universe, that Venn diagrams and ripples out and has a frequency radio effect on all other consciousnesses. And so it's why, as groups of people who are awakening, we are so powerful in shifting the way that we operate in reality, and the connection that all people have towards truth and love. And sometimes it doesn't look that way, but that's because when a big desire comes online, all of the fears come up to be processed before that desire can become a manifestation. And so the chaos that we're seeing right now is because, as a collective, we have such big, beautiful, vivid desires for this world, vivid desires for living in truth and love. And so everything that isn't those truth and desires is turning on right now to be processed out and balanced and transmuted, so that we can collectively step in to that bigger, more beautiful game. And that starts by shifting and feeling through our own personal energetics, and then watching those ripple out. With Sadhguru says, keep a check on how much of your activity is conscious or unconscious. Self audit is self transformation. Sadhguru is so good at dialing in the power of being present with yourself and intensely present with your life. And when we're intensely present, that means that we're conscious of what we're doing. We're not operating on autopilot. We're not just going through the motions. We're intentionally moving through our day. Abraham Hicks used to call this segment intending. Before we start into any new segment of our day or any new action, take a bead and consciously represent in your mind what you want this next segment, this next action to do. Why are you taking it? Is it the right action? Is it aligned with your value system? Is it aligned with truth and love? That if you'll start to consciously do that in each new segment of your day, you will start to land on a decision space, ideas and intuitions that move you in a more highly leveraged way and in a more efficient way towards the things that you desire, and allow you to show up in a bigger way for the people around you, providing them with immense value without it being a drain on your energy system. But it all starts with you checking in with yourself and doing that self audit. And that could be as much as you starting to say, where do I feel this moment in my body? Where do I feel the present moment in my body? And learning to be present with those energies instead of trying to intellectually move beyond them or ignore them. Mystic's Truth says, you got to learn how to stop telling people more than they need to know. On our own channels, it's beautiful to express ourselves in whatever way we want to express ourselves. But as we begin to relate to other people, and converse with other people, and meet other people where they're at, it can be incredibly frustrating when someone is projecting their truth onto you. And I have been definitely guilty of doing this. There is resistance on both sides that comes up when someone needs someone to be different than they are. So as a coach, one of the things that I've had to learn is it's totally appropriate and beautiful for anyone to be wherever they are when they come to me. And my job is not to fix them or change them, but to give them a greater sense of awareness about their present moment. And everyone has the means to up level themselves and to transmute themselves and to achieve whatever desire they want without any external help. However, if you have been negatively processed by society your entire life, it can be sometimes difficult to turn that awareness on. And so one of the things that I do in my emotional processing practice and my coaching practice for clients is just hold space for them and reflect as a mirror back to them using questions and statements things that are happening in their present moment. And I'm not even telling them what those things are. They're discovering those things on their own. And in that discovery, they grow their awareness. And when they're growing their awareness, they're growing their energy. And when you're growing your conscious energy, you're growing the amount of space that you can hold in reality. And when you grow the amount of space that you can hold in reality, that's where you can start to impact, shift, change, move, and mold the life around you. But projecting onto others that they have to know something that you know, or that they should be doing it some way, or even giving someone more information than they're ready to hear, doesn't serve anyone. And so, as we become more consciously aware of what's happening in our own bodies, in our own energy systems, we will become more empathic in reading what someone else is ready for, and we'll be able to find the language to communicate something to someone at the level that they're ready to hear it. Law of Void says, pharmaceutical quick fixes are not what you need. You must face up to your symptoms and acknowledge this is not just random victimization. Every symptom has its reasons. I firmly believe this, and I have not been to an allopathic care doctor in many years, and I believe that anybody should have whatever health and medical experience they want, and that's totally appropriate, and you have to seek the relief at the level that you're at, and at the belief system that you hold. But for me, I've recognized that there is so much value in talking to my body, and I can do that through muscle testing. I can do that through supplementation. I can do that through energy work. And then I can recognize that when my body does manifest ailments or disease or illness, that there's an emotional root to all of that. The emotional energy is where all disease, ailments, and resistance shows up first. And if we ignore it there, then it maps itself onto the cellular physical structure of the body and manifests itself as a signal to say, hey, you're ignoring something at the emotional energy level. So if we will learn to tune to our energy and feel through the resistance that shows up there, that resistance doesn't have to club us over the head by manifesting as disease. And that's an interesting rabbit hole to go down. And there's all kinds of beautiful books. Louise Hay comes to mind about the emotional root of certain physical ailments. And that can be a key into where the most highly leveraged opportunity for up leveling is because that hurt knee or that congestion in your lungs all has an emotional root, and it's a signal that is beautifully and brilliantly showcasing to you what the energetic improvement needs to be and could look like. And when you can use those physical ailments as a way to tune into the emotional energy that's ready for transmutation, then what happens is your entire reality starts to upgrade. And that's a pretty cool place to be. Universe Inside You says learning how to be calm when you're disrespected is a superpower. When somebody comes up to you and projects judgment onto you, or comments on one of your posts with a snarky post, or tells you that you're doing it all wrong, or tells you that their belief system is more valid than your belief system, or tells you that the way you're thinking about the world is stupid or inaccurate, that can be incredibly frustrating. But the gift in that is that frustration is an energetic edge that we can feel through. And as we feel through that edge, our energy expands. And in that expansion of energy, we become a more powerful satellite dish to information and to decisions and to thoughts. And when we have more access to higher frequency thoughts and ideas, we're able to find the actions that the 20% of actions that will net 80% of the desired results. And this is how we unlock time, financial, and location freedom, is by recognizing that life is our greatest emotional processing coach. And life is going to trigger our nervous system to show us where the area for energetic expansion is. And so when someone disrespects us, if we can say, ooh, feel that burn. What a great gift this person has given me. This person is allowing me to burn through one of my edges. And as we burn through that edge, we will get new inspiration, new ideas. And sometimes that idea is, I don't need to associate with people like this anymore. I deserve better. And sometimes the idea is, I haven't been treating myself as well as I should, as worthy as I know that I am. And sometimes it's just haters gonna hate. And when we can get to a point where that doesn't matter, that's where we become really dangerous in our creative energy. And I mean dangerous in an effective way. We have an ability to mold reality better than anyone around us. And that's an interesting place to experiment with. Universe inside you says, believe in it until it manifests for you. Don't overthink how it will happen. Don't worry about when it will happen. Just believe in it, trust it, allow it, let it flow. The Abraham Hicks work was one of the best things that I did for about a 15-year period. I was an Abrahamster, and I vividly did all the practices every single day, and I listened to all the lectures, and I was on all the audio subscriptions, and I read all the books. And what I was doing was brainwashing myself into believing that I had the ability to be the creator of my life. And now that I had, over a 15-year period, developed the experiential muscle memory of belief and faith, you better believe that I going to create all the things that I want to create, because I believe so vividly that they are possible. And so if there are things in your life that you want to do that you don't believe are possible, the first thing that we can do is feel through the discomfort that something wouldn't be possible for us, because that is a false premise. But then we can also start to practice thinking towards the things that we want by writing affirmation statements. And so the Trojan horse affirmation statement that I learned from Abraham was writing at the top of a sheet of paper, wouldn't it be nice if? Because right now, if I want to attract $1 billion, that doesn't seem likely for me to do today, although I'm totally open to it. And so when I say I will make $1 billion today, I can't really believe that, because I don't have a belief system that has enough information for how that could be possible, and or at least it's not a well practiced enough belief system, because I can still feel the energetic tinge, and so a Trojan door to open up the energy of that statement without disagreeing with it, because a lot of times affirmations will work against us because we say it out loud and then we don't believe it, and then we actually activate the negative energy that repels those desires from us. And so the Trojan horse for this is right at the top of a sheet of paper, wouldn't it be nice if, and then list out all the things that would be nice. Wouldn't it be nice if I could make $1 billion today? Well, yeah, that would be nice. I can be in absolute energetic agreement with that statement. Wouldn't it be nice if I had 100,000 YouTube subscribers? Wouldn't it be nice if over the next month 100 people joined my mastermind group at mindbodysale.com? And wouldn't it be nice if I could provide infinite value to them? Wouldn't it be nice if today was just so relaxing and felt so expansive, and I was able to just share so much present moment love with my lover on this beautiful Sunday? Wouldn't it be nice if we got to have the most incredible breakfast and conversation, and just really enjoyed each other's company. You see how this works? You can start to align yourself so with affirmations that maybe you don't fully believe in by saying, wouldn't it be nice? Well, yeah, it would be nice for all of these things to happen. Excuse me. And so if you will believe it until it manifests for you, and maybe maybe you do that wouldn't it be nice work until it shows up. And what happens is that as the things that you're affirming begin to show up in your life, and they're not always going to just the Ferrari's not always just going to land in your lap, although that's possible. Usually the first manifestation is a new thought, a thought that leads you down the rabbit hole in the direction of what you want. And enough thoughts lead to action, and enough action leads to compounded action, and enough compounded action leads to the desired result. So we want to act from inspiration. We want to recognize that anything is possible for us. And we want to just develop a strong faith and belief that all of those things are possible for us. Meditation and technique has a kind of creepy picture of Osho. I always think that Osho looks a little creepy, but he definitely was conveying and mirroring out some interesting information. It says, don't seek, don't search, don't ask, don't knock, don't demand, relax. If you relax, it comes. If you relax, it is there. If you relax, you start vibrating with it. This has been true for me. When I can one of the things that a lot of my actor friends, including myself, because I used to be an actor, um, an experience that we've all had is that there's this phenomenon that when you decide to give up acting and you're not going to go on auditions anymore, that's when you end up landing your biggest role. Because it's like you care too much while you really want to be an actor, and then as soon as you give it up and say, you know what, I'm not doing acting anymore, then your agent calls you with the biggest audition ever, and you end up landing it. And so why does that happen? Well, it's because in the giving up, there's no more resistance, and so then all the energy can flow. And so if we can learn to just relax and project into the world our desire by stating it aloud and writing it down and affirming that it's possible for us, but then feeling through all of the resistance that says, and all the fears that come up that say it isn't possible. Once we feel through all those fears and resistance, then it becomes this relaxing place of relief. And in that place of relief, the energy of what we want can start flowing. We can start attracting the thoughts and ideas and actions and people and places and opportunities that will unlock those. And the key is to not take score too soon, to not measure too quickly. Affirm what you want, feel any of the resistance and fears that come up until they no longer feel present, and then trust that whatever comes next is pointing in the direction of your greatest desires. The universe calling has this cosmic woman levitating in the middle of the universe, and it says, you're a ghost driving a meat-coated skeleton made from stardust. What do you have to be scared of? You are a ghost driving a meat-coated skeleton made from stardust. What do you have to be scared of? And I love this because we are all infinite spiritual beings, and we have access to an infinite level of conscious creator energy. And when we begin to feel through the resistance and the discomfort in our bodies, then we open up that energy field. And in the opening of that energy field, we begin to attract the people, places, and things that are going to set us up for the greatest adventure that we could ever imagine, an adventure bigger than we could imagine. And so getting recognizing that we're not the body, that the body is just a meat coated vehicle that the conscious spiritual being is driving, is such a beautiful concept and thought experiment to sit with. So if you've never contemplated yourself as a spiritual being, I encourage you to do that today as you're sitting with yourself for 15 minutes. What if you were a spiritual being? What would that mean? Is there a truth to that? Ask to be shown the truth to that if that's something that you're interested in. And then once you start to have that bodily intuition and that experiential recognition that you're a ghost driving a meat-coated skeleton made from stardust, then start to drive as the spiritual being and create everything that you desire. So that's your daily dose of spiritual magic. If you're looking for a like-minded community of conscious entrepreneurs all working together to create time, location, and financial freedom, then please head on over to mindbodysale.com and take a look at what we've created. I'd love to have you as part of our community, so please go check out the website. I promise that I will help you succeed. I will help you meet whatever your desires and goals are. The purpose of the group is to be in conscious support of one another and make sure that we're all getting where we want to go and feeling through what needs to be felt with. Please go and follow all the meme creators that I've highlighted today. They're brilliant creators and they deserve your attention. Their links are in the description. And if you have a spiritual meme account on Instagram that I should follow, please leave a link with your thoughts on anything from this video, any questions that you have. Once a week, I'm going to do a Q&A video where I respond to all comments and questions, and I'd love to see any accounts that you think I should follow there as well. So until tomorrow, I'm John Ray. Godspeed to you all.